Hey everyone, I'm Albert Boris. Alright, so Mario Kart Tour. This is a game that has gained a lot of notoriety in the Mario Kart fandom. Being a mobile game, it has a bit of a shaky reputation, usually regarded to be just a cash grab with a ton of microtransactions. In fact, that's pretty much how I saw it, having only played it once on release. It wasn't until the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass came into fruition that a lot of people, including me, decided to give it a second chance, and 4 years later, we're approaching the end times. And I think it's safe to say that we took Mario Kart Tour for granted. Not only has it improved as a game over time, but more importantly, we have everything to thank this game for this DLC's existence. At this point, it's obvious that it's a way to preserve the new content originally created for Mario Kart Tour, and from my perspective at least, the cities and Nitro courses are the clear standouts of the pack, being much more ambitious in their gameplay than the retro courses. However, all good things come to an end, sooner or later. There will be a final Booster Course Pass wave, and there will be a final new course for Mario Kart Tour. According to data mines for the game, that last course was announced today, the City Track.
Oh, is it Rio de Janeiro? Or maybe Cairo?
Surprisingly, no. The last course is something I never would have anticipated if it wasn't thanks to data mines. It's Sarajevo! Nah, it's more known than that. We will miss you, Sarajevo. It's actually the capital of Spain, Madrid, also known as Mob MD in Mario Kart Tour's files. Yeah, this is a bit of a peculiar final impression at first glance. Typically, the cities chosen for Mario Kart are the big ones everyone knows about with lots of tourism, such as New York, London, Paris, or Sydney. There is the occasional outlier such as Vancouver or Bangkok, but even they tend to be the hotspot in their respective countries. That's why Madrid is a bit of a surprise, because even in the realm of Spain, I typically think of Barcelona, Salou or Santander first. And even though I'm pretty obsessed with geography, I've never really had a clear picture in my head of what Madrid looks like. The only locations I really knew about were the Plaza Mayor and Gran Via Street, and they didn't really seem like particularly engaging elements for a Mario Kart track. Well, good thing low expectations often translate to exceeded expectations, because Madrid Drive completely entranced me when I first saw it. Actually, wait a second. Madrid Drive? What the So, I remember back when Athens Dash was released and people got to know what a generic name Nintendo picked for the track. People would jokingly predict the name Madrid Drive for the speculated Madrid course, as a way to make fun of Nintendo's naming skills. I don't think they actually wanted that, Nintendo. Any course could be referred to as a drive, it's nothing unique to Madrid. There were so many more appropriate names. Well, at least it doesn't define the whole track, which is looking kingly. So I thought, let's discuss everything we saw in the trailer, come up with a potential route for it, as well as discuss its impact on the Booster Course Pass. Because yeah, this one is 100% coming to Wave 6. It's the final new course we may get in Mario Kart for a long time, so it deserves its own discussion video. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. Starting with discussing the trailer. The best way I can summarize this course from what we saw in the trailers is that it's probably the most city-esque course out of all the city courses. You'd think that's a bad thing, considering I praised Athens Dash for being the sheer opposite, but it's not about what it is, it's about how it's handled. One of the reasons city courses aren't really popular in the Mario Kart fandom is because they typically take you through the same looking streets for almost the entire duration of the race, and when there's 14 of them, yeah, it can get repetitive. The most popular city tracks are typically the ones that dramatically change the scenery, typically by having you drive outside of the town. However, Madrid Drive is showing us that diversity is still possible while taking place in a smaller area. On one hand, you've got average looking areas like this bridge, this calm street, but you've also got this huge pond, this gate, a ramp over geysers, this indoor market with tombs, and remember the plaza I mentioned? Wigglers are roaming around it, Maple Treeway style. And it also appears to be the location of the data-mined tent assets. There even appears to be two different exits, and that's just the things that have been shown. In one of the screenshots, there appears to be a giant football stadium, and considering football and Goomba Shoe assets have been data-mined from Mario Kart Tour, who knows what that section has in store? I'll be honest, unlike a lot of other city courses in Mario Kart, this one seems so much more real. It's largely metropolitan, but there's still a lot of variety, like in a real town. I mean, okay, it's still too early to say this, but from what we've seen, it honestly feels less like a racetrack that happens to be based on a city, and more like a city that happens to be a racetrack, if that makes sense. Compare this to something like Berlin, where the city aspect feels more like an afterthought to some generic highway course, or Tokyo, which don't even get me started on. And this is what I'd say is the charm to Madrid Drive. It may not be some grand adventure, with a super iconic landmark, but it looks to be a nice stroll through a town, and there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, depending on how it plays out, it might end up one of my favorite city courses, thanks to all the twists. And speaking of which, how will Madrid play out? Just like with the previous city courses, we will probably be getting 2 separate variants this tour, with a third one coming later, and coming up with a cohesive layout is a lot easier said than done. We have a lot of screenshots, and cramming them into 2 separate variants is no easy feat. But there are clues we can draw from, both by drawing connections between screenshots, but also by looking at where the locations are in the real Madrid, because I believe it's gonna be at least slightly geographically accurate. And this is what I came up with. Madrid Drive 1 starts off on the Puerta del Sol Plaza, before you make a turn to the right, drive underneath a bridge, and then circle your way up around the statue of Philip IV. You'll then be driving on the same bridge you were driving beneath, before you arrive at the Gran Via, making some turns and then traverse a football stadium. After that, you'll mostly just drive through streets, before you're back at the start. Madrid Drive 2 meanwhile will focus more on the locations we saw in the trailer. The starting line remains the same, except you turn left this time, to the Wiggler-infested Plaza Mayor, which will then lead to the San Miguel market inhabited by Twomps. The rest of the track is pretty straightforward, until you reach Retiro Park, glide across a pond, before making your way up to the finish line. Yeah, this was not easy, and I'm not particularly sure myself this will be it. But it is what it is, and we'll see the final result on Wednesday. But perhaps the biggest discussion surrounding this track is about where it will be in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. Or well, it's not that much of a discussion. There's only one wave left, so it's gonna be the city track of either the Acorn or the Spinning Cup. It used to be a bigger discussion, back when we didn't know what either wave 5 or this track would look like. Speaking for myself, I thought it would be a slightly frantic course at sunrise, with a music tune reminiscent of Luigi's theme in Mario Strikers. It couldn't be any more different though, as this course is set during a sunny daytime, and while the music still includes a lot of the same instruments I envisioned, it's a bit more relaxed. Not as serene as Rome Avanti, but it makes me feel like I'm taking a stroll through a busy city at day. I also tried to speed up the music to resemble a final lap version, and it then made me feel like I was horse racing through a town bathing in hot daylight. It feels surprisingly climactic, much unlike I expected. Between the 2 city courses left, Madrid Drive and Rome Avanti, this one does at first seem like it would be a better fit for the Spinning Cup, with its more engaging elements and upbeat music. In comparison, Rome Avanti is a lot more generic, mostly just taking you through regular streets. However, while the music there is more serene, it's also more festive, and the track itself is arguably the hardest city course ever made, with tight turns everywhere. Really, either course could go in the Acorn and Spinning Cup. And I believe that when the DLC was first planned, Rome actually came after Madrid. Datamine suggests that these 2 were originally going to be the city courses of the Feather Cup, alongside Koopa Keep and Sunset Wilds, and while we don't know which city was where, I do believe that in this context, Madrid was going to be the upbeat opening while Rome was going to be the festive finale. That way, the time of the day would also progress smoothly. However, because in Wave 6, both courses will be the openings of their respective cups, I have to think a bit differently. Originally, I put Rome in the Acorn Cup and Madrid in the Spinning Cup, partly because Rome is more simplistic, but also because I feared that Madrid might have had a color scheme similar to Daisy Circuit, which I put in the Acorn Cup. But well, as it turns out, Daisy Circuit and Madrid Drive look nothing alike, so it doesn't matter anymore.
You're wrong. Have you ever wondered why there's no Sunset in Los Angeles laps anymore? It's because they moved it to Madrid Drive.
Well, I mean, I guess that's possible. Regardless, however, I still believe that the Madrid Drive will be in the Spinning Cup. I played Rome Avanti countless times in Mario Kart Tour, and while it certainly has its merits, it's just not a very unique course. Besides the section taking place in the Colosseum, most of it is just streets, streets, and streets. Difficulty isn't really relevant. Amsterdam Drift was arguably Wave 4's hardest track. Madrid Drive just looks a lot more interesting, with more elements and things to do, and for that reason, I think it would be a better final impression for the cities. Not the best one, Athens Dash exists, but with what we do have, let's not ruin it anymore. And that was all I had to say about the new Madrid course for Mario Kart Tour and 8 Deluxe. But what are your thoughts on it? Are you excited for it, and what do you think the layout will be? Should it be in the Acorn Cup or the Spinning Cup? Leave a comment down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, share and subscribe to my channel, as I talk about everything Mario related. follow me on Discord, Twitter and Patreon. I'll see you all soon. Until next time.